Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the stars through the main window. His ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months now, far beyond any human settlement. The mission was simple: look for signs of other life in the galaxy. What they found would change everything. "Commander, we're picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Ben Adams from his station. "It's not natural. These are radio signals, but they're not from Earth." Jake walked over to Ben's console. The screen showed wave patterns that pulsed in regular beats. Someone was talking out there in the darkness between stars? "Get Dr. Carter up here," Jake ordered. "Right now." Dr. Lisa Carter arrived on the bridge. Within minutes. She was the ship's expert on languages and communication. Her job was to figure out how to talk to aliens if they ever found any. Today that job became real. "What do you think, Doctor?" Jake asked, pointing at the signals on the screen. Lisa studied the patterns for several minutes. Her fingers moved across her tablet as she ran the signals through her computer programs. "This is definitely artificial, Commander. Someone is broadcasting these signals on purpose, but the structure is unlike anything we've ever seen. Can you understand what they're saying? Give me time. Maybe a few hours. The computer can find patterns in the language, but this will take work." Jake nodded. "Do it. And keep this quiet. For now, only the senior staff needs to know." The next few hours felt like days. Jake watched as Lisa worked at her station, running the alien signals through every program she had. Slowly, words began to form on her screen. The first translation was rough, but it was enough to make Jake's blood run cold. "Commander," Lisa called, "you need to see this." Jake read the translated text over her shoulder. The words were simple but terrifying. "Third planet survey complete. Primitive species confirmed. Recommend standard cleansing protocol after study period." "What does that mean?" Jake asked, though he feared he already knew. "They're talking about Earth, Commander. They've found us, and they're planning to destroy our planet." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Are you sure?" "The location data matches Earth's position exactly. They call us the third planet species and classify us as primitive. According to these messages, they plan to study us for a short time, then eliminate our entire race." "Who are they?" Lisa pulled up more translations. "They call themselves the Corvani Empire. From what I can understand, they control most of this part of the galaxy. They've been the dominant power for thousands of years." Jake called Captain Amy Rodriguez to the bridge immediately. When she arrived, Lisa explained everything they had discovered. Amy's face grew pale as she listened. "How long do we have?" Amy asked. Lisa checked her translations again. "Based on their timeline, they're planning to reach Earth in about 18 months. They're sending a research fleet first, then a much larger force to complete what they call the cleansing." "My God," Amy whispered. "We have to warn Earth." "There's more, Captain," Lisa continued. "I've been listening to their technical discussions. Their technology is far beyond ours. Their ships can travel between stars in days, not months like our ships. They have weapons that can destroy entire planets." Jake studied the alien messages on the screen. "What about their weaknesses?" "Every species has limits. That's just it, Commander. From what I can tell, they've never faced real opposition. They've conquered every species they've encountered. They don't expect resistance because they've never needed to plan for it." Engineer Tony Blake had been listening quietly from his station. Now he spoke up. "Captain, I've been analyzing their ship designs from the technical data in these transmissions. Their technology is impressive, but it's built for efficiency, not survival. These are ships designed by a species that's never been in a real fight." "What do you mean?" Amy asked. "Their vessels are huge and powerful, but they're not built to take damage. They rely on overwhelming force, not tactical thinking. Look at these power distribution systems." Tony pointed to diagrams on his screen. "Everything runs through central cores. If you could hit those cores, their entire ship would shut down." "But they have thousands of ships," Ben pointed out. "Even if we could build enough weapons to fight them, they outnumber us completely." Jake stared at the alien transmissions scrolling across the screens. Somewhere out there, an empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia was planning to erase humanity from existence. They saw humans as insects to be stepped on. "Captain, we need to get this information back to Earth immediately," Jake said. "Every day we delay is a day less for our planet to prepare." Amy nodded. "Set course for Earth maximum speed. And send a priority message to Fleet Command. Tell them we have first contact and it's not good news." As the Defiant changed course toward home, Jake watched the stars ahead. Earth was still. Months away, even at top speed. By the time they arrived, the countdown to invasion would already be running. "Dr. Carter, keep monitoring those transmissions," Jake ordered. "I want to know everything about these Corvani. Their strengths, their weaknesses, how they think, how they fight, everything." "Yes, Commander." "I'll keep working on the translations." "Tony, analyze every piece of technical data you can find. If we're going to fight these things, we need to understand how their technology works." "Already on it, Commander." The bridge fell quiet except for the hum of the ship's engines. Everyone understood what they had discovered. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, but their new neighbors wanted them dead. Jake thought about his family back on Earth, his wife Karen, his 2 kids playing in their backyard, completely unaware that alien warships were already heading their way. Millions of people living normal lives, going to work, falling in love, having children, never knowing that their entire species had been marked for extinction. "How do we fight an empire?" Ben asked quietly. "We figure out how to hit them where they don't expect it," Jake replied. "They think we're primitive. That might be our only advantage." The Defiant raced through space toward Earth, carrying the most important message in human history. Behind them, alien voices continued to whisper through the void, planning the end of everything humanity had ever built. Jake stood at the bridge window, watching Earth's sun grow slowly brighter in the distance. Soon everyone would know that humanity was not alone. The question was whether they would survive long enough to regret that discovery. The Empire had found Earth. Now it was time to see what humans could do when their backs were against the wall. Admiral Rick Hayes sat in the emergency meeting room deep beneath the Global Defense Command headquarters. The room had been built to survive nuclear war, but today it felt like a tomb. Around the table sat the most powerful people on Earth, and none of them looked hopeful. "Ladies and gentlemen," Rick began, 3 days ago, the USE Defiant returned from deep space with information that changes everything. Commander Morrison, please brief them on what you found." Jake stood up and activated the wall display. Alien text scrolled across the screen, followed by English translations. "We intercepted communications from something called the Corvani Empire. They have found Earth, and they are planning to destroy our entire species." The room erupted in shocked voices. President Kate Williams raised her hand for silence. "Commander, are you absolutely certain about this intelligence?" "Yes, Madam President. Dr. Carter has confirmed the translations multiple times. The Corvani consider us a primitive species that needs to be eliminated. Their advanced fleet will arrive in approximately 16 months. General Sam Collins leaned forward. "What kind of forces are we talking about?" "Based on their transmissions, sir, the Corvani control thousands of star systems. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. A single one of their ships could probably destroy our entire fleet." "Then we're doomed," said Secretary of Defense Paul Wright. "If they're that advanced, there's nothing we can do." Dr. Helen Park, Earth's leading scientist, had been quiet during the briefing. Now she spoke up. "Actually, there might be something. Something desperate, but possible." All eyes turned to her. Helen activated her tablet and sent data to the room's display. "For the past 5 years, my team has been working on experimental quantum drive technology. We've never tested it because the risks were too high." "What kind of risks?" President Williams asked. "The quantum drive can move a ship across the galaxy in hours instead of months. But the energy requirements are enormous. Any ship that uses this technology would burn out its drive completely. It would be a one-way trip." The room fell silent as everyone understood what she meant. You're talking about a suicide mission, General Collins said. I'm talking about humanity's only chance for survival, Helen replied. The Corvani expect to find us cowering on Earth, waiting for them to arrive. They don't expect us to be capable of striking back across the galaxy. Admiral Hayes studied the technical data on the screen. What exactly are you proposing, Doctor? We modify 3 of our best ships with quantum drives. We send them to the Corvani homeworld before their invasion fleet reaches Earth. We hit them where they live, where they feel safe. That's insane, Secretary Wright protested. You're asking us to send hundreds of people on a mission they can't return from. I'm asking us to save our species, Helen shot back. The Corvani have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years because no one has ever challenged them on their home ground. They've grown complacent. Their defenses are designed to keep primitive species in line, not to fight a real war. Commander Morrison had been listening carefully. Now he stepped forward. Dr. Park, what would these ships be able to accomplish? Even with surprise on our side, 3 ships can't destroy an entire empire. They don't need to destroy the empire, Commander. They just need to cripple it. According to the technical data you intercepted, the Corvani civilization depends on massive power systems on their homeworld. If we could destroy those systems, we could set their technology back by decades. And buy Earth time to prepare defenses, Admiral Hayes added thoughtfully. President Williams looked around the room. This is the most difficult decision any leader has ever had to make. We're talking about sending people to die for the chance that our planet might survive. Madam President, Jake said, I volunteer to command this mission. Commander, you don't understand what you're volunteering for, General Collins said. This isn't a military operation with a chance of coming home. This is exile, permanent exile. I understand, sir. But my family lives on Earth, my children go to school here, my wife works in the city. If the Corvani come here, they all die. If I go out there, maybe they live. Captain Amy Rodriguez stood up. I volunteer as well, Madam President. The UES Defiant is already the most experienced ship. For this mission? As do I, said Captain Danny Foster from across the room. My ship, the Retribution, can be ready for modification within a month. And the Vengeance, added Captain Lisa Chun. 3 ships, 3 crews, 1 chance to save Earth. Dr. Park pulled up more technical data. The quantum drives will take 6 weeks to install and test. The ships will need to be completely rebuilt around the new engines. It will be the most complex engineering project in human history. What about the crews? President Williams asked. We can't order people to go on a suicide mission. We won't have to order anyone, Jake replied. When word gets out about what we're facing, we'll have more volunteers than we can use. Humans don't run from fights, even impossible ones. Admiral Hayes stood up. I'm recommending approval for Project Last Light, 3 ships, modified with quantum drives, launched against the Corvani homeworld. The goal is to damage their infrastructure enough to delay or prevent their invasion of Earth. The cost will be enormous, Secretary Wright warned. Not just in money, but in lives. We're asking 900 people to die for our planet. The cost of doing nothing is 7 billion lives, Jake pointed out. I'll take those odds. President Williams looked at each person around the table. I need to know that everyone in this room supports this decision. If we do this, there's no going back. We'll be committing an act of interstellar war against an empire that could destroy us easily. They're already planning to destroy us, General Collins said. At least this way we go down fighting. One by one, every person in the room voted to approve the mission. President Williams signed the authorization with a heavy heart. Project Last Light is now active, she announced. Dr. Park, you have unlimited resources for the quantum drive modifications. Admiral Hayes began recruiting volunteers immediately. And God help us all. As the meeting ended, Jake walked to the window overlooking the city. People were going about their normal lives, completely unaware that their government had just authorized humanity's most desperate gamble. Captain Rodriguez joined him at the window. Do you really think we can pull this off, Jake? I think we have to, he replied. The Corvani expect us to be afraid, to hide and wait for them to come kill us. They don't expect humans to be crazy enough to attack an empire. Maybe that's exactly what we need to be, Amy said. Crazy enough to try the impossible, Jake nodded. In 16 months, those alien ships will arrive at Earth expecting to find a helpless planet. Instead, they'll find out that their homeworld is burning. They'll learn what happens when you threaten humanity. The next morning, news of the alien threat was released to the public. Within hours, recruitment centers were flooded with volunteers. For Project Last Light, people lined up for blocks, all wanting to join the mission that would save Earth. Jake stood in the recruitment center, watching young men and women sign papers that would send them into exile forever. Each one knew they would never see Earth again, but they signed anyway. Why? He asked one young engineer. Why volunteer for a mission you can't return from? The man looked at him seriously. Because my sister has 2 kids. If we don't stop these aliens out there, those kids will never grow up. That's worth any price. Jake realized that this was what made humans different from the Corvani Empire. Humans would sacrifice everything for the people they loved. That might be enough to win, even against impossible odds. Project Last Light was humanity's last hope. In 6 weeks, 3 ships would launch on a journey with no return. The Empire would learn what humans could do when their backs were against the wall. The quantum drive activated with a sound like thunder breaking apart. Jake felt the UES Defiant twist through dimensions that human minds were not meant to understand. Space folded around them, and suddenly they were somewhere else entirely. Quantum. Jump complete, reported Lieutenant Ben Adams. All systems functional. We're in the Corvani home system. Jake looked at the main screen and felt his breath catch. Before them hung a massive blue-green world, 3 times the size of Earth. Around it orbited hundreds of space stations and shipyards, each one larger than any structure humanity had ever built. My God, whispered Dr. Lisa Carter. Look at the size of those installations. The Corvani homeworld of Vexara dominated the system like a jewel. Its surface was covered with cities that glowed with energy, connected by transport systems that moved faster than Earth's aircraft. This was the heart of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Defiant to retribution and vengeance, Jake spoke into his communicator. Report status. Retribution here, came Captain Danny Foster's voice. Quantum drive is completely burned out, as expected. We're stuck here, but all weapons are operational. Vengeance reporting, said Captain Lisa Shun. Same story. No way home, but ready to fight. Jake nodded grimly. All 3 ships had made the impossible journey across the galaxy, but now they were trapped in the heart of enemy territory. 900 human volunteers, exiled forever from Earth, facing an empire of billions. Ben, what do you see on sensors? Jake asked. Massive defensive platforms around the planet, Commander. Energy shields protecting the major cities, but something strange. Their defenses are all pointing outward, toward space. They're not designed to stop ships that are already inside the system. They've never been attacked at home, realized Dr. Carter. The Corvani are so powerful that no enemy has ever reached their homeworld. They don't know how to defend against an attack from within their own territory. Engineer Tony Blake was studying the planet's energy grid. Commander, I'm reading enormous power signatures from the surface. The entire Corvani civilization runs on fusion reactors the size of cities. If we could hit those reactors, we could shut down their entire infrastructure. How many reactors are we talking about? Jake asked. 12 major installations provide power for the whole planet. Take out even half of them, and their shipyards would shut down. Their weapons would go offline. Their communication systems would fail. Jake felt a spark of hope. Can we reach those reactors? They're heavily shielded, but the shields are designed to contain the fusion reaction, not to stop incoming weapons. A direct hit with our main guns should penetrate. Then that's our target, Jake decided. 3 ships, 12 reactors. We divide them up and hit them simultaneously. Captain Foster's voice crackled over the radio. Jake, we're picking up movement from the orbital platforms. They're starting to turn toward us. How long before they can bring weapons to bear? Maybe 10 minutes. These platforms are huge, but they move slowly. They weren't built for quick. Response: Then we move fast, Jake ordered. All ships begin attack run. Target the fusion reactors on the planet's surface. Ignore the orbital defenses for now. The 3 human ships dove toward Dexara at maximum speed. Around them, the massive Corvani installations began to wake up like sleeping giants. Warning. Signals flashed across the alien structures as they detected the incoming attack. They're trying to communicate with us, Dr. Carter reported. The translation software is picking up their transmissions. What are they saying? They're demanding we identify ourselves. They want to know how we got past their outer defenses. They're calling our ships impossible energy signatures, Jake smiled grimly. Let them wonder. Maintain radio silence. The Defiant streaked through the Xara-S atmosphere, its hull glowing from the heat of entry. Below them, Jake could see Corvani cities spreading across the landscape like metal forests. Each city was larger than any human settlement, home to millions of aliens who had never known war. First target coming up, Ben announced. Fusion reactor complex, dead ahead. All weapons fire. The Defiant's main gun spoke with thunder. Beams of pure energy lanced down from the ship, punching through the reactor's containment shields like paper. The fusion core destabilized instantly, sending a pillar of fire kilometers into the sky. Direct hit, Tony shouted. Reactor 1 is down. Across the planet, similar explosions bloomed as the Retribution and Vengeance struck their own targets. The coordinated attack was working better than anyone had hoped. The Corvani defenses, designed to fight enemies in space, were helpless against ships attacking from within their atmosphere. Commander, we're getting more alien transmissions, Dr. Carter reported. They're panic communications between military units. What kind of panic? They're saying this attack is impossible. No species has the technology to reach their homeworld undetected. They're calling us unknown entities with impossible capabilities. The Defiant pulled up from its attack run and headed toward the second reactor complex. Behind them, the first reactor continued to burn, its destruction spreading fires across the surrounding city. Emergency vehicles raced through the streets as Corvani civilians fled the destruction. Target 2 in sight, Ben reported. But we've got company, Corvani fighters incoming. Jake saw them on the screen, sleek alien craft rising from hidden bases across the planet. They were fast and graceful, but they moved in formation like a parade display. They fight like they've never faced real opposition, Jake observed. No evasive maneuvers, no tactical thinking, just straight-line attacks. The Corvani fighters opened fire with weapons that painted the sky with colored energy. Their beams were powerful, but they aimed where the human ships were, not where they were going to be. Return fire, Jake ordered. Show them how humans fight. The Defiant's gunners had trained for years in combat simulations. They didn't fire at the alien fighters. They fired at where the fighters would be in 3 seconds. The difference was devastating. Corvani ships exploded across the sky as human. Weapons found their mark again and again. These pilots have never been in a real dogfight, Ben realized. They're trained for ceremonial displays, not combat. Then let's give them a lesson, Jake replied. All weapons continue firing. Clear us a path to target 2. The second reactor exploded even more spectacularly than the first. The chain reaction spread to nearby power substations, blacking out entire sections of the Corvani capital city. Lights went dark across the alien metropolis as their power grid began to fail. Defiant to all ships, Jake transmitted. How are you doing out there? Retribution. Here, came Danny's voice, strained with excitement. We've taken out 3 reactors so far. These aliens don't know how to fight defensively. Every time we hit a target, they panic instead of adapting. Vengeance reporting 4 reactors down, added Lisa. Their orbital platforms are still trying to target us, but they're too slow. We're inside their reaction time? Jake felt something he hadn't expected. Hope. The mission was actually working. 3 human ships were crippling an empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Commander, Dr. Carter called out urgently. I'm picking up new transmissions. Emergency broadcasts going out across the Corvani Empire. What are they saying? The homeworld is under attack by unknown forces. They're requesting immediate assistance. From all fleet units? And sir, they're using a word I haven't seen before. The translation software thinks it means impossible beings. Jake watched another fusion reactor bloom into destruction below them. The Corvani Empire was learning that humans existed, and they were learning it the hard way. Let them call us impossible, Jake said. By the time we're done here, they'll understand exactly what humans are capable of. The three ships continued their rampage across the Xara's surface, leaving a trail of burning cities and destroyed infrastructure in their wake. The empire that had never known defeat was discovering what happened when someone finally fought back. In the darkness of space, Corvani reinforcements raced toward their homeworld, but they would arrive too late. The damage was already done. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy, and the announcement was written in fire across the stars. The sky above the Xara burned with the light of dying reactors. Jake watched from the Defiance Bridge as the 8th fusion complex erupted in a pillar of fire that reached into space. Below them, the Corvani capital city was going dark section by section as power grids failed across the planet. Status report, Jake ordered. 8 reactors down, 4 remaining, Ben Adams replied. But Commander, we've got problems. The orbital platforms are finally getting their act together. They're coordinating their fire. Jake looked at the tactical display. The massive Corvani defense stations were slowly turning their weapons toward the human ships. Each platform was the size of a small moon, armed with energy weapons that could vaporize asteroids. Time until they can target us effectively? Maybe 5 minutes, sir. Those platforms move like mountains, but when they lock on, we're dead. Then we finish this in 4 minutes, Jake decided. All ships, concentrate fire. On the remaining reactors, ignore everything else. Captain Danny Foster's voice crackled over the radio from the Retribution. Jake, I've got a problem here. My ship took damage from those fighters. Engine 3 is down and we're losing altitude fast. Can you make it to your next target? Negative. But I can do something better. Danny's voice was calm, like he was discussing the weather. There's a massive shipyard complex directly below me. If I ram this thing, I can take out their entire fleet construction capability. Jake felt his heart sink. Danny, don't do anything stupid. Too late for that, my friend. We came here to hurt them where it counts. A shipyard full of invasion ships sounds like a pretty good target to me. Danny, wait. Tell Earth we bought them time, Danny said. Retribution out. On the main screen, Jake watched the Retribution angle downward toward the largest shipyard in orbit around the Xara. The alien facility was kilometers long, home to dozens of ships under construction. Corvani fighters swarmed around it like angry insects, but they couldn't stop what was coming. The Retribution hit the shipyard at full speed. The explosion lit up half the planet. When the fire cleared, both the human ship and the alien facility were gone, along with 30 Corvani vessels that would never threaten Earth. Good luck, Danny, Jake whispered. Commander, Dr. Carter called out, her voice shaking. The alien transmissions are going crazy. They're broadcasting across their entire empire. What are they saying? They're calling this attack impossible. They keep using words that translate to demon ships and ghost warriors. They don't understand how we got here or what we are. Jake looked at the tactical display. 2 ships left, 4 reactors remaining. The orbital platforms were almost in firing position, and Corvani reinforcements were streaming in from across the system. Vengeance, this is Defiant, Jake transmitted. Lisa, what's your status? We're still operational, Captain Chun replied. Heading for Reactor Complex 9? But Jake, we're not going to make it out of this. The platforms will have us locked. In about 3 minutes, I know. We all knew this was a one-way trip. No regrets, Lisa said. These aliens wanted to wipe out humanity. Now they'll think twice before they mess with Earth again. The Defiant dove toward the 9th reactor complex, its guns blazing. The massive fusion installation below them was protected by energy shields and defensive towers, but the Corvani defenses had been designed to keep primitive species away. They had never faced weapons built by humans who knew they were going to die. "Shields are down," Tony Blake reported. "Direct shot at the reactor core." "Fire everything," Jake ordered. The Defiant's main guns spoke with one voice. Energy beams punched through the reactor's containment systems like bullets through paper. The fusion core went critical instantly, sending a mushroom cloud of plasma into the atmosphere. "Reactor 9 is gone," Ben shouted over the noise. "Power grid failure spreading across 3 continents." But their celebration was cut short. The first orbital platform had finally managed to target them. A beam of pure destruction lanced through space, missing the Defiant by mere meters. "Evasive maneuvers," Jake commanded. "Get us to the next target." The Defiant twisted through the atmosphere as more energy beams reached for them. The Corvani platforms were slow, but their weapons were devastatingly powerful. Each shot that missed left glowing craters in the planet's surface. "Vengeance to Defiant," Lisa's voice came through the static. "We've taken Reactor 10. 3 down, 2 to go. Copy that." "We're heading for 11? Jake watched the tactical display as the remaining orbital platforms adjusted their aim. The Corvani were learning fast. Their next shots would be harder to dodge. "Commander," Dr. Carter said urgently, "I'm picking up massive fleet movements across the Corvani Empire. They're recalling their invasion force from Earth." "What? The fleet that was heading for our planet has turned around. They're coming back to defend their homeworld." Jake felt a surge of triumph. The mission was working even better than they had hoped. Not only were they crippling Corvani infrastructure, they were forcing the aliens to abandon their attack on Earth. "How long until those fleets arrive?" "Days, maybe weeks." "But Commander, there's something else. I'm detecting rebellion signals from other star systems. Other alien species are rising up against the Corvani Empire." Jake smiled grimly. "News travels fast. The galaxy is learning that the great Corvani Empire can be hurt." The Defiant screamed through the atmosphere toward Reactor Complex 11. Below them, Corvani cities burned in the darkness as their power systems failed. This was the heart of an empire that had crushed every species it encountered, and 3 human ships were tearing it apart. "Target in sight," Ben reported. "But, sir, we've got incoming. That platform has us locked." Jake saw the energy building in the orbital weapon. In seconds, it would fire a beam that would vaporize the Defiant completely. "All power to engines," Jake ordered. "Get us to that reactor." "We won't make it, Commander. That beam will hit us in 5 seconds. Then we better make those 5 seconds count." The Defiant dove straight down at the reactor complex, its engines screaming at maximum power. Behind them, the orbital platform's weapon reached full charge. 3 seconds to impact, Ben counted down. 2. The energy beam lanced through space just as the Defiant's guns opened fire on the reactor. For a moment, ship and target were connected by threads of pure destruction. Then both exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from orbit. "Defiant!" Lisa's voice screamed over the radio. "Jake, do you copy?" But there was no answer. The Defiant was gone, along with its crew of 300 volunteers who had crossed the galaxy to save their home. "Vengeance to anyone listening," Lisa said, her voice breaking. "The Defiant is down. Reactor 11 destroyed. 1 target remaining." Lisa looked at her tactical display through tears. The last fusion reactor was heavily defended, surrounded by Corvani military installations. The orbital platforms were all targeting her ship now, and reinforcements were pouring in from across the system. "All crew, this is the captain," Lisa announced over the ship's intercom. "We came here to buy Earth time to survive. We've succeeded beyond our wildest hopes. The Corvani invasion fleet is retreating, their power grid is destroyed, and their empire is crumbling. Now we finish the job." The Vengeance angled toward the final reactor complex. Around it, the sky filled with Corvani fighters and defensive fire. The aliens were throwing everything they had at the last human ship. "For Earth," Lisa whispered. "For humanity. For everyone we left behind." The Vengeance dove through a wall of enemy fire, its guns blazing. Energy beams tore through its hull, but the ship kept flying. At the last second, Lisa armed every weapon on the ship and set them to overload. The final explosion lit up the night side of the Xara like a second sun. When the light faded, the last fusion reactor was gone, and with it, the heart of the Corvani Empire's power dot in the silence that followed. Alien voices whispered across the galaxy. The empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was broken, and everyone knew it. 3 human ships had done what entire civilizations could not accomplish. The Corvani Empire would survive, but it would never be the same. And across the galaxy, other species looked toward Earth with new respect and wonder. Humanity had announced its presence to the universe, and the announcement was written in fire across the stars. The silence after the explosion was broken by the crackling of damaged radio equipment. In the asteroid field at the edge of the Xara system, a single human escape pod drifted among the rocks. Inside, Commander Jake Morrison slowly regained consciousness. Ben? Tony? Anyone? Jake called into his communicator, but only static answered. Jake checked his pod systems. Life support was functioning, but barely. The pod had enough air and water for maybe 2 weeks. Around him, the wreckage of 3 human ships floated in space, along with debris from dozens of Corvani installations. Through the pod's small window, Jake could see the Xara in the distance. The planet's night side was darker than it should be. Whole continents were without power, and fires still burned where the fusion reactors had been destroyed. Computer, scan for other human survivors, Jake ordered. Scanning, the pod's artificial voice replied. No human life signs detected. Within sensor range, Jake closed his eyes. 900 volunteers had come to this system, and he might be the only one left. But they had accomplished their mission. Earth was safe. Computer, monitor Corvani communications. Translate what you can. The pod's simple translation program began picking up alien broadcasts. What Jake heard made him smile despite his situation. Emergency. Council session. Power grid failure across 7 sectors. Invasion fleet recalled to defend homeworld. Cannot confirm status of unknown attackers. The Corvani Empire was in chaos. Their military was confused, their infrastructure was crippled, and their confidence was shattered. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire was afraid. Computer. Compile a message to Earth, Jake said. Full report on mission status. Warning, transmission will reveal pod location to hostile forces. Do it anyway. Earth needs to know what happened here. Jake began recording his final message to humanity. He spoke of the battle, of the courage of Captain Foster and Captain Chun, of the destruction they had brought to the Empire's heart. He explained how 3 human ships had done what entire civilizations thought impossible. The Corvani invasion of Earth has been stopped, Jake said into the recorder. Their fleet has turned back to defend their homeworld. We estimate their offensive capability has been reduced by at least 60%. More importantly, we have shattered their myth of invincibility. Jake paused, looking out at the distant planet where his friends had died. The galaxy now knows that humanity exists and that we will fight for our survival. The Corvani Empire called us impossible beings. They whispered that we couldn't be human. Now they know better. As Jake finished his message, new contacts appeared on his scanner. Corvani search ships were spreading through the system, looking for survivors and wreckage. They would find his pod soon, but before they could reach him, something unexpected happened. Ships began dropping out of hyperspace around Xara, but they weren't Corvani reinforcements. Jake's scanner identified them as vessels from dozens of different species. Computer, what am I looking at? Analysis indicates multiple alien fleets from various star systems. Energy signatures do not match Corvani technology. Jake watched in amazement as the alien fleet took position around Xara. These were species that had been conquered by the Corvani Empire decades or centuries ago. They had heard about the attack on the homeworld, and they were rising in rebellion. By God, Jake whispered, we started something. The alien fleets opened fire on the remaining Corvani installations. What the humans had begun, the liberated species were finishing. The empire that had ruled through fear was discovering that fear worked both ways. Jake's communicator crackled to life with a transmission in broken English. Human vessel, this is Free Fleet Commander Zextai of the Helkin Liberation Front. We have monitored your brave attack. Your species has given hope to the entire galaxy. This is Commander Morrison of Earth, Jake replied. I'm the last survivor of our strike force. You are not alone, human. Your sacrifice has freed millions. The Corvani Empire is falling, and it began with your courage. Jake watched as more ships arrived in the system. Word was spreading across the galaxy faster than the Corvani could control it. Rebellions were breaking out on 100 worlds. The Empire's iron grip was cracking. Commander Morrison, the alien voice continued, we offer you sanctuary among our people. Your species has earned the respect of the galaxy. Thank you, Jake replied. But first, I need to get a message to Earth. The alien ships positioned themselves to boost Jake's signal across the galaxy. His message to Earth would take months to arrive, but it would carry the most important news in human history. Earth Command, this is Commander Morrison reporting. Final mission status. Project Last Light has succeeded beyond all expectations. The Corvani invasion has been stopped. Their empire is collapsing. Humanity is safe. Jake paused, thinking of his wife and children back on Earth. Tell them that 900 volunteers crossed the galaxy to save our world. Tell them that we found the Empire's weakness wasn't in their technology or their numbers, but in their certainty that they couldn't be challenged. They ruled through fear, but they had forgotten how to face it themselves. Around him, alien fleets continued to arrive as news of the Corvani defeat spread. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were throwing off their chains. The galaxy was changing, and it had started with 3 human ships refusing to accept defeat. The Corvani whispered that we couldn't be human. Jake continued in his message. They said our courage was impossible, our determination was beyond reason. They were right. We did the impossible because that's what humans do when our families are threatened. Jake looked out at the burning Corvani homeworld and smiled. Earth is safe, the galaxy is free, and everyone now knows that humanity has arrived among the stars. His escape pod was picked up by the Free Fleet an hour later. Jake would spend the rest of his life among alien friends, but he had given Earth something priceless, time to prepare for whatever came next, back on Earth. Months later, Jake's message would be broadcast around the world. People would weep for the heroes who saved them and cheer for the victory against impossible odds. Children would grow up hearing stories of the day humanity fought an empire and won. The Corvani Empire still existed, but it was a shadow of its former self, their invasion. Fleets had become refugee ships as worlds across the galaxy declared independence. The species that had ruled through fear learned what it meant to be afraid. In the years that followed, Earth would make contact with dozens of alien civilizations, but humanity would never again be seen as primitive or weak. They had earned their place among the stars with courage and sacrifice. Jake Morrison lived the rest of his days as a hero among the alien species he had helped liberate. He never saw Earth again, but he knew his planet was safe. He had kept his promise to protect his family and his world. The Empire had whispered that humans couldn't possibly be real threats. 3 ships and 900 volunteers had proven them wrong. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy, and the announcement echoed across the stars. We are here. We will fight. And we will never surrender. The age of Corvani dominance was over. The age of human courage had begun. And somewhere in the galaxy, an old soldier watched alien sunsets and smiled, knowing he had helped save the world he loved.